Welcome back everyone, this is part 2 of the complete guide to W58 swapping your SC400 using the XAT racing kit. In this video, we'll be finishing up our wiring, installing our manual pedals and master cylinder, and also showing you some cosmetic things you can do to kind of button up the center console. Starting off with the wiring portion, I'm going to show you how to wire your kill switch or your neutral safety switch, which enables the car to start without the automatic transmission plugged in. Now, in a previous video, I showed you which wires to tap into to do this, but these white two are going to be our reverse, and these blue ones are going to be for the neutral safety. And these are tapped into wires that were originally in a plug that went into the automatic transmission. The blue wires were a black wire and a black and white, and then these wires were a black and red and a yellow, I believe. But right now we're just going to focus on these two blue. I'm going to pass them through the hole I cut in the top, and we're going to wire them to a switch. With our two wires pulled through up here, we're going to strip the end of them and put on these little disconnects, and then these will click onto our two-way switch. All right, so I stripped those ends and got them in the disconnects, and then they just clicked right on to our switch. I also used a crimper to lock the wire in there. So now it's on our switch. This also acts as a kill switch. The car cannot start if these wires aren't bridged. So you can kind of locate this wherever you want. You can hide it, you can make it super easily accessible. I'm not really sure where I'm going to put it yet. I just wanted to wire it so we can get a first start. Now for the reverse lights, we're going to be taking those two white wires that we tapped off of the old plug and attaching them to the reverse switch on the W58. It's just a little plug with two prongs in it. I'm just going to cut the head of this off and splice the ends together. Now this is non-polar, so it does not matter which wire goes to which wire. Either way it'll work. Now, if your SC400 is non-VVTi, you're all finished up with the wiring, but if you have a 98 or above with VVTi, you're going to have to get an automatic transmission emulator, and this ensures that everything with the ECU is working properly and your car doesn't go into limp mode. It's about $230, I think, on XAT Racing's website, or there's a few other places you could get it, and it comes with instructions on how to wire it. Now we can move on to installing our clutch pedal, brake pedal, and master cylinder. To do this, we're going to start underneath the dash. Against the firewall, you're going to notice the three pre-made outlines for the holes, and that is since the SC300 has a manual option. It's a little tight down here, so that big white box is going to get removed. This is actually your telescopic steering control module. Once that's out of the way though, you can get back there with some drills and make the holes. Mine weren't very perfect, but that's okay. Now before moving forward with the master cylinder and clutch, I think now is a good time to install your new manual brake pedal. As you can see here, the automatic pedal is a lot larger than the manual pedal. So when your clutch is installed, the pedals are basically going to be touching. So if you see here, the manual pedal is much smaller. I didn't get a lot of the process of me swapping them out. It is really tight under there. But you can see on the two pedals that are taken out here, there's one big bolt that goes through the top that has two plastic bushings on it. And then in the center of the pedal, there's going to be this little hole where there's a retaining clip that goes through. And that's what presses the button that I think powers the brake lights. But once you get under there and look, it's not too complicated. It's just a tight fit, but I'm sure you can do it. Now we can finally start working on our master cylinder. This one is the OE Cruiser style from XAT Racing's website with a 3/4 inch bore. Assembly's super easy. They give you this little packet with a banjo system. So there's a banjo bolt in here, two washers, and then this little swivel adapter for your AN lines. Everything's super easy. You just do a washer, the adapter, and then another washer, and it screws into the side. You don't need to fully tighten it down yet because you're probably going to want to move that adapter around once it's on the chassis, depending on where you're routing your AN lines. If you got the 3-foot AN lines like I did, there's plenty of space to just run them up the back of the firewall. And routing them is super easy. When you're laying underneath the car, you can just grab both the lines you have, your return and your feed line, and just push them up in the gap against the firewall. Now the last step for prepping the master cylinder is going to be replacing this stud on the back of it. The one that comes on there is not long enough to mount to anything, so I replaced it with these two bolts. I just used two nuts to reverse thread it out, and then I stuck these bolts in, tightened a nut down on one side, and tack welded them on to keep them in place. Once you get it like this, once you push it into the firewall, you see there's plenty of extra room to mount the clutch pedal on the back of this. And there's also a little hole up at the top underneath the dash where the top of your clutch pedal gets bolted in. The excessive manufacturing pedal will come with a bolt for there. I think it's a 13 millimeter. You can see it's all bolted in there. And now the final step is just going to be tightening down the little plunger rod onto your clutch. You just have to line up the hole, and it comes with all the hardware to set that up. Now, if you loosen the nut on the back of this, you can kind of adjust how long the push rod is. It'll take some fine tweaking to get your engagement point just right, but it's not too difficult. Once everything's tightened down, you'll have something looking like this, and now your car officially has 3 pedals. If you're interested in how I routed my lines, I took the speed bleeder and just wrapped it around this relay box with a zip tie, and the other line is just going right over to the master cylinder. I put these rubber hoses over the AN lines so they wouldn't wear down on any of the surrounding plastic from vibrations. So now that it's time to put everything back together, you're probably curious how to get an OEM look. We're going to start off by using one of these bezels I got on eBay to seal up the trans tunnel and reduce noise and vibrations. Once you have that installed, it'll look something like this. I just used like all surface glue to seal it down to the trans tunnel. You'll notice obviously there's still this big ugly hole and your automatic shifter bezel does not cover this area. So we got a manual shift bezel from Z30 Concepts. It totally looks OEM, it clips right into the factory holes. Everything is perfect. The only downside now is that you no longer have your heated seats or traction control buttons. So for that, we got a custom switch panel. You can order this ashtray delete panel from Auto Extrude that also replaces your cigarette lighter. And then I just used 5 wire switches to wire up my neutral safety, my heated seats, and my traction control. This is just temporary. Eventually the neutral safety I want to put on an actual clutch switch. But for now, everything looks OEM like I never touched it. Now, if you did put your neutral safety on a switch like I did, the process of starting the car is very simple. You flick the switch to on to bridge the wires, put the car into accessory, make sure you're in neutral, and then you can start it up. You'll notice we don't have any warning lights on the dash other than a flashing overdrive light, and that's because the overdrive system no longer is a complete circuit. The only way to fix this is to remove the bulb for it or just block it out. But other than that, you are officially manual swapped and ready to rip. If you're W58 swapping your SC400, I hope this video helped out. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me on my Instagram or just comment down below.